What's up, everyone? Welcome to a special episode of Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Bragg, coming live to you from PG County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories behind athletics, big business, corporate America, private sector, politics, entrepreneurship, and the entertainment world, then this is the show for you. Being a part of most of these and having family and friends involved in at least one of these, there's a point that comes to the time in their lives. There are so many untold stories behind the scenes in these careers. Now let's try to unmask a few of them today. Today's guest is a savvy veteran. I never talk about his age. I'm gonna say he's a savvy veteran, entrepreneur, sports and corporate executive. He's a native of Wilberforce, Ohio. And I always talk about, you can't talk about, even though he was born in Bermuda, his family's from there. I believe it's Bermuda. He's an HBCU graduate from Central State University. And then straight from Central State University, after graduating, he began working for Continental Cablevision in Ohio as a system manager. And then from there, he decided to move to Chicago in 1983 to begin working for ESPN. And there he was a local advertising consultant. And then he was later promoted to director of affiliate marketing for the Midwest region. After 5 years, he began a career at Black Entertainment Television, BET, as the executive vice president of affiliate sales and affiliate marketing. And then in 1992, the young man that we have coming on became president and chief operating officer of BET Action, Pay-Per-View, and BET International. He served as executive vice president of BET on Jazz from 1996 to 2001 until he retired from BET. In 2005, he was appointed chief operating officer for the Washington Mystics of WNBA. And then in 2006, and this is where, and I know him a little bit before that, but this is where it became big in this area, where he opened a privately funded indoor basketball facility, Hoop Magic in Chantilly, Virginia. And then the last 10 years, he actually has devoted his life to launching the HBCU Go TV network. Through the platform, he's bringing the Black college or university experience to your television. Welcome to the show, Curtis Symonds. Man, how are you, Curtis?
Lamar, it's a pleasure, man, and congratulations on Unmasked, man. I've been following you, man. I think you're doing a great job. I think it shows like yours, man, that we got to do more of, because I think that it educates more people on some of the unknowns that people don't know about. And I think that's one of the big things. And I've always loved your title, Unmasked, because you're unmasking, where people's almost like a football player wearing a helmet and no one knows who's behind the helmet. And I think Unmasked does a great job of really telling a story, and you created it to educate people on who is that person behind Curtis Symonds. And I think that's great, man. So I applaud you, man. I hope that, somewhere down the road, we can have you do a show on HBCU Go TV. And move it unmasked over there. We'd love to have you. So
that sounds great,
man. Hey, man, appreciate
it. Well, look, before we jump into that, I appreciate all those great words. Before we jump into the interview, do you want to speak about the HBCU Go network and all that?
Yeah, I would love to do that, man.
I think it's very important.
Thank you very much. We've been working on a network called HBCU Go over the last 10 years. And the goal behind the network is to really educate our community on the history, the legacy, and the value of historical Black colleges and universities. The programming mix will be mainly, sports in general, because basically Black college sports is known for sports. It'll have lifestyle programming, educational programming, all types of programming targeted to the HBCU circle that touches these alumni, touches the students, touches people who are thinking about coming to an HBCU, because we want to get the word out that there's a value in attending HBCUs. I'm tired of hearing Black people in our circle say, I can't go to an HBCU because it doesn't give me any value. Well, let me just say this. I am a PE graduate of Central State University of 1978, education. My mother taught 40 years in the education. I've never taught a day in my life, been in marketing ever since I came out. And I am now, 4 months later, getting ready to get into the biggest Hall of Fame in the media business. So you can't say there's no value at the end of the day of going to an HBCU, because I'm sure proof that there is value of doing that with a PE major. So the network will strive to really begin to try to educate people, just like at the latest fiasco where we have no HBCU football players drafted in the draft. That's unheard of. When you go to the Hall of Fame in Canton today, you will see HBCUs lead the group of Hall of Fame. And that's the thing that we want to try to educate more people on, again, on that value of what they bring to the table. So tune in to us. We're on Roku. We're on Amazon Fire Stick. If you'd like to go to my website, it's hbcugo.tv. And you can see everything that we got going on. I hope you do view it and give us your opinion.
Hey, man, that's awesome. I mean, I definitely have, some of the guys, you got solid Neil up there. He was commentating my games. I think he did a couple of content stories up there. He was doing my games when I was playing 30 years ago in college. So,
Charlie's a legend, man. Charlie is a straight up legend, Lamar. Straight up, I love that brother.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. But you talk about the football, which is interesting, and before we jump into it, most of the Hall of Fame comes from HBCU schools, like in the NFL. So a lot of people don't know that history. That exactly. They're from HBCUs. They have more than any other schools in NFL history. So that's just amazing.
Let me show you.
Jump right into it, Curtis.
Yeah, let me show you something real quick though. If any of you, if people are out there, I'd love for you to pick up this book called Inbounds. And this is a book just recently written by a good friend of mine, Ricky Clemens, who teaches over at Howard University on the history of Black college football and who's in the Hall of Fame. It's an unbelievable book. Wow. But let's jump into it, man. I'm ready.
I'm going to jump into it. Inbounds. So look, first question, man. We'll jump right into it. Can you tell me about a little bit about your career path and what led you to your role or your roles today?
I think one of the things that helped me out, Lamar, early on in my career was not making a high school basketball team. And that was my goal. And that really put a chip on my shoulder, man, that I never let go. And I told my high school coach going into I was always the last guy cut on the varsity squad going into junior, senior year. And I told my coach that I was going to play 4 years of college basketball. And I did. I worked my tail off and ended up playing 4 years. I started out, like any other young kid, you grew up in the HBCU in the area. You want to get out. You want to go to a different area. So I ended up going to the Division II school, a Catholic school out of Indiana called St. Joseph College with a buddy of mine. I kind of followed him. I ended up walking on, making the team. He got sick. I ended up starting. As a guy who never played high school basketball, I'm starting at a Division II school. First team I'm playing against is Northwestern out of Evanston, Big Ten. So that chip never went away, man. And when I got into the business world, I continued to have that chip on my shoulder because I felt very strongly that, people didn't respect HBCUs in our thinking. So I remember years ago, Lamar, when I came over to BT and had a chance to meet Ted Turner. And I told Ted Turner, who was a Mongo in the business, that I was going to sit on a board with him within a year. And he started kind of laughing me off. Yeah, Curtis, I hear what you said, but well, in a year I was on 2 or 3 boards with him, and he respected me on my opinions on what I brought to the table because I was a straight up guy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for anybody. I'm always going to tell people and people always respected me because they were like, man, you're a real cat, man. I never met a guy who just kind of speaks his opinion about what I said. Yeah, man, that's how I grew up. You like me or leave me. Went away. So that chip on my shoulder, Lamar, I think was really the driving force. And to this day, man, I tell young cats today, I'm 65 years old. And I tell people today, man, I wake up every morning trying to educate myself on something. Because I can't, I never was satisfied. I'm still not satisfied. People look at my resume and they're like, man, you've accomplished this. People would love to accomplish all the stuff you've accomplished. I'm like, but I haven't really accomplished everything I'd like to accomplish. So I'm still learning every day. And I try to preach that to young folks that, never be satisfied. Learn, take the challenge, man. And that's one of the things I think has helped me over the years, Lamar.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a great story. Like, didn't make your team, your high school team, set your goal of playing college basketball. It gets done. So it seems like everything you set your mind to, your goals, like, hey, I'm gonna get this accomplished. This is another thing checked off, and that's a great chip to have on your shoulder. And that instilled in you when you were younger. So that's awesome story. That's an awesome education tool that some young people should pick up. I'm gonna ask you this, Curtis. What's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
I think the one thing I wish I'd have known, I bet, is more in the finance world. I was not a finance guy, and I think that's one of our problems in our culture. We don't look, we look at spending, but we don't look at understanding the value of how to put our dollars places to grow. And that's one of the things that I think early on I won't ever forget the story. Here's a story that happened to me years ago when I was just getting into business. I had a friend call me and said, "Yo, man, you need to put $2 down on that home shopping network that's coming out." I'm like, "Man, I don't deal with the stock market." He said, "Man, look, I'm putting down $20." And he said, "Just keep an eye on it." 10 years later, he walked into the bank and made good money off of it. And I'm sitting here saying, damn, $2 would have done me big time. And that what was that? $2? That's like going to get a soda. Come on, man. But my mindset wasn't there. My mindset wasn't there. And I think that's one of our problems in our culture is that we're not embedded in the fact that, look, here's how you can make money. We're too busy into here's how we can spend the money. I got to get a Mercedes. I got to get a house. I got all the material bullshit, which at the end of the day, when the man punches your clock, you can't go down with it. Okay. So you might as well enjoy it. And you need to try to spread your wealth. And that's one of the things I think that I regret in my career, that I did not understand that financial world strong enough.
That's a good piece. And I mean, I talk about it all the time too, Curtis, like learning how, to deal with financial part early so you can set yourself up for success down the road. I mean, that's a huge piece. And huge. As you talked about it, we don't talk about it enough. We look at short term, we look at all the materialistic things, but we don't look at what we can do for later on. I love that.
No question, man. No question.
Like, what I'm gonna ask you this: what does a work day? Because now you're busy, you're getting this is off the ground. Like, what does a work day look like for you? Because you're constantly probably talking with different people. What does a work day look like?
Well, I've never changed my routine, man. From early on, I'm an early bird, man. I'm a 5, 6 in the morning guy. That's what my mind is a lot more clear. I get up, I'm cranking out emails, a ton of emails, and I do that from like 6 to 9 in the morning, and then I work on all my calls from like 9 to like 1. And then because I coach high school basketball now, I always got stuff going on in basketball. So I'll end up cutting off like 2:00, go to basketball practice, come back at 6, 7, something like that, jump right back in it, put about 2 more hours in, and that's my normal day. But I'm a big guy. What I think is a problem, man, that we have in business is that I'm a big guy on responding. Someone sends me an email, I don't care if it's a janitor, I'm going to respond to it. It amazes me now that I'm out of corporate America when you call people and it goes a week before they call you back and they say, "Oh man, I had you on my list and I was going to call you." But what happens with all of this, especially when you get in the entrepreneur world, is that you almost in some ways devalue yourself because now you don't have an anchor. When I call, they say, "Call coming from Curtis Symonds from BT." Oh, well, now people jump. Oh, that Curtis Symonds. But now it's like Curtis Symonds, Hbcu Go. Oh, okay, well, I'll get back to them in a few. And I think that's a bad thinking in corporate America when people climb the ladder, man. I mean, I see it on a daily basis, man. And, where people definitely don't understand the world of communication. And that's really what I value myself on. That's what I pride myself on, because I've always thought this, Lamar. The only brand you have is you, Lamar Butler. Okay? So at the end of the day, Lamar Butler's got to keep that brand out there. So it's important that you leverage that brand every time you get a chance. And a lot of people don't understand that, man. Because one thing I've told people, when you get rocked off that top, and you think the top is all you got, you get rocked off that top and you drop down. Now, see who really calls, see who's really your friend at the end of the day. Okay? And a lot of people don't understand. I mean, people don't understand, like, they're blown away that I still can call top people in the business, in any business, and get phone calls. You see, they're like, well, "Damn, how did you?" That's because they understand that I built something back in the day over my time, and they respect that, and they know I'm not calling on a bullshit call. So I think that's one of the things that people got to keep in mind as in their day to day, because people lose that thought pattern, and it's sad.
Yes, it is very sad. I'm gonna ask this question because, and I don't like to use this word because I just think, but it kind of goes with it. What is the biggest failure or like not most successful thing, and what did you learn from it? Because we do have things that don't go perfectly right, but we also are learning from it. Like you just talked about it. You're learning every day. Like, what was you thought was like, wow, this didn't go right, but I actually learned from
my
it.
biggest failure, but I learned from it, was my gym. Because my gym was my baby. That was all me. I put all my blood, sweat, and tears in it. I put all my money in it, and I did not come out the gates managing it like I should have. I made the wrong decision at the time. And now that I think about it, because what I did was, when the building was complete, I then took a job at the same time as the president of the Washington Mystics. Little was I thinking that both seasons were summer seasons with the gym and the Mystics, and so the Mystics were so much in a hole. I was spending time trying to build the Mystics back and not taking care of something that was mine, that I owned, my gym. And unfairly, I put my wife in on that. And it's a family business, but it wasn't her circle. She didn't know the contacts out there with basketball. And I didn't do a good job in my hiring and with the right people. The one thing that I learned from it, but it's always my problem. I'm always in a hurry. Let me get it done. Instead of doing better homework, Lamar, and planning things out better. And that was a big lesson I learned, because once I got into it full time, I started bringing it back. But the problem was that I had dug a hole. And it was at a bad time when the finance world and the banks were tripping. So there wasn't a lot of gap of time. When I fell behind, the banks weren't willing to say, "Hey, Curtis, I'll give you 6 months to get it back together." They were like, "No. You got to get us the money tomorrow." Like, where am I going to come up with this money at, man? I don't have this money. I'm grinding like everybody else is grinding. And they just put that choke on me, man. Like, it was, to this day, I can never forget that, man. That chokehold was so strong, it was ridiculous. When you messed up when you go every day to work, to the job, and you're thinking, how do I get $1 in the door? That's just your thinking, because I got to pay. I know I got to pay these cats at this time. And I think that was kind of the biggest failure in my whole career. And I don't call it a failure. I call it more of a learning point at the end of the day, Lamar, because I don't think I failed. I failed only in my mind that I wasn't able to keep it. But I didn't fail because I put a lot of kids in college. I got a lot of exposure. I did things for the first time in the Northern Virginia market that no one's ever done. I brought the first D-League referee camp to it. I brought the G League draft, the G League All-Star group there. G League camp route. I had the first tournament in Northern Virginia with coaches coming in. So we did a lot of great things, man. And then, I say the least, I had a great relationship at that time with Karan and a bunch of other NBA players, and NBA guys are dropping in there every day. So because they had heard about the facility, they loved the facility. The facility was one of the best in my opinion, the best in the country. You know, there was no one who could come in the gym and say, God damn, man, your floors are clean, bathrooms clean. How do you do this? It looks like it's 4 years into it. It looks like it's the first day still rolling like it was. Because I prided myself on keeping that building clean at all times because I'm a gym rat. And I don't want to come in there and see dirty bathrooms, you know, dirty floors, all that. But that was my learning thing. And the thing that I got out of it was I read Ted Turner's book about his failures. And he said, look, sometimes in life you got to fail to grow. And that's the way I took it because it took me not that long to get back on my feet. But, you know, it was an education process. And once you go through the education process, the beauty of it is that I was able to meet people now who said, man, if I'd have known that was you, I had the money to cover you. Well, you know, 4 years later, 10 years later now, you know, and I'm over it, man. And I'm over it. It was a good run, but it was a good learning point, Lamar. Very good learning point and a good business education, bottom line.
And that's the biggest thing you should learn from it. And I can say it was a great building. I was at the hoop group. We were doing other things, and I made sure that when I was in charge and I was running the hoop group, that we were coming over to you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you guys, man, you and Bob and all that, man, you guys and Steve, you guys always supported me. Hoop group was one of my biggest supporters. No question.
So that was definitely something that I wanted to make sure that I did when I was.
No, man, you did a great job, man, of steering them, and you did a great job of the leadership when you were at hoop group anyway.
Appreciate that. What do you? Because you sound excited. You sound like Curtis Symonds when we were at basketball camp working, coaching. Like, what do you enjoy most about the work you do? I mean, you said you're 65. You don't have to do this, but like,
yeah,
what do you enjoy the most about your work? And what are you the most excited about?
That's what parents and the kids ask me every day, man. You know, how do you do it, coach? How do you come to practice with this kind of energy, man, at 65? And I think that one, Lamar, you know, my mother passed away in December of 93. And like her to leave it, I have her energy. You know, when she was 80 years old, she had the same energy as me and you right now. You know, I mean, I have her energy. That's one of the things that I know I got from her. You know, and that, you know, I'm an energetic bunny. You know, I'm always trying to figure out something to do. My wife tells me I can't sit still for 5 minutes, you know, but it's just something that I like to do. Now, what I enjoy coaching because I enjoy like being around the kids. You know, I like the fact that, you know, you can help try to mold some of these kids in the right way, and they appreciate it, man. I've gotten letters lately, and I know you got a ton of them, you know, from kids just saying, you know, what you mean to them, you know, and how you steered them in the right way, you know, and you wouldn't think about what you might have said to them. I had a kid the other day stopped me. I hadn't seen him in a long time. I didn't even recognize because he had a mask on. And he was in the gym, and I was at the gym, and he came up to me and he said, Mr. Symonds, I don't know if you remember me, man, but you said something to me like 10 years ago that I've never forgotten. You know, I was like, what? You remember that? He said, man, every day I remember what you said to me. And I think those are the kind of things, Lamar, that make your day. That make your day, man. And I think that's one of the things that continues to drive me, man, more than anything, you know, around is the kids. You know?
That's awesome. That's what people don't realize. That kids keep you young. And
Yeah.
you don't, you know, they keep you young. Like that's why teachers last a long time.
Yep.
Coaches can last a long time.
Yep.
Because when you deal with those guys, I mean, they come in as, you know, like everything evolves. They're totally different. And it just gives you energy a lot of times.
No question, man. It's the love for it, man. You got to have a love for it, Lamar. You know what I mean? That's the thing that, again, I give my mother credit for, and even my wife, I give her a lot of credit because she's got a lot of energy at 66, you know, and you know, that's where I think it's the love for being around your people. You know, that's the beauty of it.
Yes, sir. What are the best resources that have helped you along the way?
That's a very good question, Lamar. I think the number one resource is mentoring. You know, I'm a big cat on wanting to learn from people, man. And when I got started in the media business, I will never forget, man. I was, like I said, I was a P major, was trying to get some direction, and I literally ran. The person who gave me my first job, Lamar, was my Cub Scout teacher. That's who gave me my first job, and she said to me, "Curtis, I'm looking for an accounting person to manage." You know, I said, "Listen, I've been running a sporting goods store over here for so long, for a year or so. I can do this. Just give me a shot." And she did. And she became my first mentor because she said something to me when I was really about 23, 24 years. I became the youngest manager in Ohio in cable. And she said, "Curtis, you know what? You are going to go a long way because of your personality." And it didn't dawn on me, Lamar, at that time, you know. But then, as I got older, man, what she said really grew on me because I could tell I could walk in the room and take over a room in a minute. You know, I could get people loving me just on what I talk about and what I am. You know, and so that was a big stickler. And then when I moved on to BT, you know, Bob Johnson was a big mentor for me because he taught me the world of business. He also educated me on everybody's not your friend. And I saw it, you know, and when he sold the company, people were like, you know, man, Bob sold out. Bob didn't sell out. I can tell people every day, man, if any of you, someone walked up to you and offered you $3 billion after 20 years, you're not walking away. You're not walking away. You say all you want, but you're not walking away. You're going to take that because you know right there, you know, and Bob was clear on it. Look, man, I'm taking care of my family. I ain't mad at it. Hey, I would have done the same thing. You would have done the same thing to anybody, you know. But in our culture, we look at it as he sold out. But no, he didn't. He didn't sell out. It was an opportunity that you could not overlook. It was a good opportunity for him and his family. And that's the way I look at it. And did he help me? Sure enough, because the way in which he positioned me over the years helped me climb up the ladder, and that's all I needed, you know. And that was some of the best mentoring in my life, you know. And then I had a few other people, you know, that Leo Henry was another. He was a white cat that been in the industry for a long time, and he loved me like a son, and he just taught me more about the financial side of the business and how to really try to maneuver. And I think mentoring is the big, and that's why I'm big on mentoring young people today, because I think you need that, man. And I always love to sit around older people and hear their comments because you learn from it, man. That's the best way. You learn. And if you're not trying to learn, you're stupid. You're stupid. Bottom line, you're stupid. You know, but I think the mentoring part for me, Lamar, was the big thing at the end of the day.
That's awesome. Awesome. I mean, you guys throwing some names out there. That's some good people. What are some of the biggest challenges you face day to day and your biggest rewards?
I think the biggest challenge day to day is, you know, always understanding who you are and what you have. And I think I got a great education with HBCU Go TV because I had to really educate people on what I was trying to do, you know. And I think that's been a big challenge because the brand has been out there for 180 years, but still a lot of people don't understand what HBCU stands for. And then it's like, oh, you're talking about historical Black college universities. Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, oh yeah, well I've dipped and dabbed a little bit in that. I don't know. And then you gotta bring them back in time and educate them on that. And I think that's the one thing that, you know, when you go back from an ESPN, when I mentioned ESPN, like, ooh, okay, that's a sports network. I get that. You know, right off the bat. Okay, what you need? You know, and I think that's the biggest thing that you have to look at is educating people on what you have. I think my biggest reward, man, is what's coming up now. Is my this Hall of Fame award, Lamar. It really means a lot to me. I mean, I looked at the NBA Hall of Fame the other night, and I started thinking about myself, saying, you know, how are you going to present, you know, when you get called up? How are you going to present yourself as a Hall of Famer in this kind of business, in the media business? Because you're getting an award that, number one, Lamar, not too many Black people have gotten this award. And that's why it's special to me. Number two, you're being honored by your colleagues in the business, not just in cable, which I live my life in, but broadcast and media, which means a lot to me, man. That here I am, a guy born in Bermuda, coming from an HBCU with a PE major, is now in the lights of the Oprah Winfrey's of the world, the Bob Johnsons of the world. Those are two of the luminous who got that award. So that award alone, and I've gotten a few over my time, but that award coming up, Lamar, is a home run for me because I always wanted it. Number one, I'm kind of greedy. I don't know why I haven't got it, before, but I'm glad I got it. I finally got the call. Finally got the call. So that means a lot to me, man. And I'm hoping to represent all of us. It's supposed to be September 20th. They're trying to play the COVID game right now and try to figure out if they're going to do it live or virtual. But, that means a lot to me. And then I've got a lot of big awards in the industry for what I've done. But that one means a lot to me, a lot, and I hope I can represent when that day comes.
That's awesome, and congratulations, by the way. I'm sure you will. I mean, you've done that. You've always done that, so that's gonna be an easy piece. You'll definitely represent. I'm gonna ask you, what piece of advice would you give to a high school or college graduate who wants to get into, that entertainment, entrepreneur like yourself, or that just media in general? Like, what piece of advice would you give them?
What I try to tell all young people today to try to get in this business is that they have to understand that this business is not easy to get into. They look at it as a luxury because all they see is you doing an interview, it being on television. Oh, I can do what Lamar's doing, but they don't understand the grind it takes to get there from, starting behind the door to get in front of the door. And that's one of the big things I try to instill in young people today is that, listen, you're not going to walk in day one and be a journalist, okay? You've got to climb that ladder. I tell people all the time, when I walked in as a cable, years ago, I was making $11,000. That was my dollar figure. $11,000 was my number coming in the door, and I had to learn how to survive off of that, But the big thing today is understanding that you got to climb the ladder. And if you're climbing the ladder, Lamar, and you're doing the right thing, people are going to notice. The other thing I try to advise people all the time, one thing I was big at was that don't put yourself in a box. Don't put yourself in where you only do one thing. If you come into a company, learn all the business of the company. Like when I came in as a general manager of a cable system, I learned how to do cable installs. I learned how to do the CSR work and taking the bill. I learned how to do all the facets of the work. So if somebody got sick, well, I can handle it for them. I got one of my techs out, well, I can do the install. And the more I became versatile with that thinking, the better I got. So when I got into ESPN world, I wanted to learn everything about programming and marketing. So I spent time in the trucks. I spent time, on different areas outside of what I originally was supposed to be doing, selling cable, to the cable operator. Because I always wanted to do more. And it was nice because I had guys that would show me, how to do the editing, how to do this, because I always wanted to say, I can do that, And then when I jumped over to BT, it even became bigger because I had the opportunity to do a lot more things. Now I'm controlling them because I'm the big dog. So I could jump in all the way and do things, different ways. And I think the more and more you can diversify yourself, the better you are in the work environment. And the other thing that I tell young people today is that the guy advised me years ago, and I didn't believe it when he said it. But he said, hey man, you should always throw your resume out every 6 months just to see what you're worth. I never thought about it when he first told me. But then I did it. And it was amazing. People started popping back at me like, I like to talk to you, And I'm like, nah, I'm good over here. I just want to see, if you like what I got, but it really kind of assures you what your value is like. And that's what you need to know, because young people today, the other thing about young people versus us, they're not no 3-4 year guy, a person. They're like 2 years at the max. I got to move on. Okay. They jumping, because they get caught up too much in, well, my friend over here is making 40,000. I'm only making 20,000. I went to school 4 years like they did. I don't understand the problem. Well, it wasn't right time, right place. Bottom line. That's all it is, So I think the more you can try to instill in their mind the hard work, because see, the young kids today don't understand hard work. They want the give me package. Oh, you got to give me. I went to school for it. Okay. Because people always say to me all the time, Mr. S, why you never got a master's? I said, why do I need a master's? I'm an EVP and a president. Help me understand that. I just knew what I was doing. Okay. Master's ain't nothing but a piece of paper. Nice to have, but it doesn't make you who you are. Okay. And it would always amaze me when I was at BET, people walk in and say, Mr. Symonds, I'd like to work for you. And oh, by the way, I got a master's in such. That's fine, but that don't change that salary number. Don't change that. Now, if you're willing to go up because of this, I can understand it, but don't change that salary number. But people think all of a sudden that's supposed to change the salary number because you got that. It's nice to have. Nice to them not saying I got a master's or PhD, but at the end of the day, if you climb the ladder right, Bill Gates ain't got a master's. Stephen Jobs didn't have a master's. Okay. Case closed. Case closed on that.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right. I'm gonna ask you. You've been in it for a long time, veteran, savvy. What tricks have you discovered to keep you focused and productive in your day-to-day business schedule?
I think that the biggest thing that's helped me over my years, Lamar, is building a brand. I mean, I was stuck on building the Curtis Symonds brand from day one because I wanted people to understand who I was and what I was about. And from my days at Continental Cablevision, I had no problem going straight to the president and having a conversation. I wanted them to know who I was, and who Curtis Symonds, what we was doing. When I was at ESPN, I had no problem going to Bill Grimes at that time when he was the president. And we had a great relationship. Every time he came in Chicago as the president of the company, we went out to dinner. And we talked basketball because he was a big basketball junkie, And so I think that the trick is all about getting to know people, man. I mean, one of the things that people don't understand, and I try to pitch it to the young people today, is that they wonder, like all my basketball players, they're blown away when we travel because I'll go in a market and people will know who I am and they're blown away. I'll go to the airport, somebody stops, Kurt Symonds. And they're like, Coach, how do you know these people? I'm like, over the years, gentlemen, I've built a network, man, that people know who I am or even know of me. Okay? And that's what it's all about, man. Once you build your network and you begin to use that network in the right way, Lamar, it just blossoms for you down the road. And I always come from the old thinking, Lamar, that my mom instilled this in me. No one's bigger than the job. No one's bigger than the job. And I always believe wholeheartedly in that thinking, and that's been pretty much my trick to the trade there. I never believed I was bigger than the job. I always believed in Curtis Symonds and what I brought to the table. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people get misled because they think they're bigger than the job. And then they get the wake-up call that they're not. And that's to me a big misunderstanding in today's world.
Wow, that is so true. And it's interesting you said that because we always talk about it now. Some friends of mine, your network.
Oh man, it's big, man. That's big.
Your network determines your net worth. I mean,
exactly.
That's what it is.
Exactly.
You talked about something earlier, and this is kind of, it could go together, but it could be someone else. Because you kind of, I said, Dad, did he peek at my question? I was going to ask you about your 3 greatest influences, but you kind of gave me the Cub Scout leader, Bob Johnson. But now I'm going to ask you, who has been your greatest inspiration? Like, I kind of figured out as I was talking to you, you answered the question without me even asking it about your influences. But like, who has been your greatest inspiration?
I think there's two people in my life that are my greatest inspiration. My mother and my wife. My mother because she taught me the hard work. She taught me that, never overlook someone, always respect someone. She taught me that you had to grind. I was cutting grass when I was 12 years old. I learned how to make $1, and I grinded all the time. I never went to summer without a summer job. Always a grind, and she showed me the necessary tools to become a man and understand who I was all about, in a little rural area of Ohio, and I had a lot of good friends. I always tell my sons about our community because our community was a pretty unique community where everybody knew everybody, and parents knew everybody, there wasn't nobody that didn't know anybody at the end of the day. That was pretty unique in my opinion. But my mother was a big influence. My wife now is even a greater influence for me because I have so much respect for her. Because, the one thing people don't take for granted in a relationship is that somebody's got to give up something to get something, and that's hard. And my wife was a teacher in Dayton, Ohio when we got married. And we moved to Chicago. We had our oldest son, Demetrius, but she gave up work, take care of the kids. And she's always been a grinder. And then she created her own business. She's always been a thinker. So she created her own business in Chicago, which she called Kitty Cam, which she had a little cab service, driving a van when she picked up kids and dropped them off at school, at home. I mean, it was a nice little business. And then I decided to take the job with BT and in DC, and she dropped all that. She didn't bring that with her. And then by that time, we were rolling with 2 kids and 1 coming. So I look up a lot to her and give her a lot of credit because that inspiration was a lot, and she believed in me to basically take care. And then when we had the gym, when the gym fell apart, man, most wives would have just, finances got fucked up for a minute. Most wives would say, "Hey, man, I'm out. I'm not living this." She hung in there with me to the rough times, and that's when you got a real woman. You got a real woman when the time is tough, and you're looking around trying to figure out how you put a crumb on the floor, and that person says, "Don't worry about it, we got it." I have the utmost respect for her because of that, man. Because she really grinded with me, and she hung in there, and not a lot of people would have. I've just seen too many of my friends having divorces and all shit over stupid stuff, and I'm like, hey man, I got a treasure, and I got to take care of that treasure. So I think to my mom and my wife, Lamar, those are my 2 inspirations, man. And I got 39 years in with my wife now, and it's like, hey man, I wouldn't trade it for a lifetime at all.
That's some powerful stuff. And it's always, you know what? Behind a successful man is always a woman. And I'm not even beside. You know what I'm saying? So
ain't no question, man. We can't do without it, man. We can't do without it.
We definitely can't do that.
Right.
You talked about the book earlier, and this may be the one. What book has inspired you the most, or what is your favorite book? Because you're a business savvy man. And you talked about inbounds earlier, but it could have been something else that has inspired you the most, or something that's your favorite book.
That's a good question, Lamar, because I'm not a big reader. Now you said I'm looking at this box of like 100 books in this box that people have sent me all over the world, and all kind of different and great writers, by the way. But I'm not a big reader. I would say that, not a book that's really one that that encouraged me. The one person that I have read a lot of is Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou's thinking makes me think. And some of her poetry, and you read through the lines, just as inspiration of where you want to be. And I think I had to look at it, on that question. I would say my inspiration behind a book is really Maya Angelou's books, because I have read a couple of her books. And just that the words, that how she's positioned her words, make you really think about where you need to be. And I think that's the most real powerful person to me. And I finally had a chance to meet her when I was at BT years ago, and I sat down with her for a while, and I was blown away there because she's unbelievable. She was an unbelievable woman, always. So I would say Maya Angelou would be when I would say it.
Awesome. You talked about this, and you talked about your wife and what she did. Like, what sacrifices have you had to make with you being in your profession? Like, what you were doing? Because we have to make sacrifices. Well, just like in college coaching, or you're doing high school coaching now, but family is one thing you do give up because you're always on the grind. Like, you can't spend those holidays with family. You can't vacation with your friends because you got other things going on. Like, what's something that you had to sacrifice?
I think, I think when I look at what I had to sacrifice was my time. Time is something that's very important in life, and I sacrificed a lot of time. I sacrificed time. I mean, I made time for my family, but not enough time, and I lost perspective on the clock. Where we grow up in a world and we're programmed to think that we have to do X amount of hours per day on a job. And at the end of the day, we lose sight, to your point, of the time. And the time moves fast. And before you know it, the clock has shifted from 2001 to 2010. And you got to look around and say, well, what did I do between 2001 and 2009 to get to 2010? And a lot of times, and I know in my life, that time is shifted on me. And that was one of the things that I really fought myself over the years on that. I think I did a decent job, but not a good job. At the end of the day, I did a decent job. And I allowed the time to manipulate me instead of me manipulating the time. I never stopped the clock and said, no, that's enough. I said, let me put another half an hour in. I get there later. That kind of thing. And I think that we all get caught up in that, man. And I think the time factor is a major sacrifice in all of our lives because we don't look at the clock enough, and we think that this is what we should do, not understanding that at the end of the day, Lamar, it doesn't mean anything, man. It's one thing when I left BT, the one thing I started to really realize, man, is I put a lot of time in BT. What did it mean at the end of the day, Lamar? What did it mean? Yeah, people come up to me and say, "Hey, man, Kurt Symonds, he worked in BT." What did it mean, man? And I think that's what we lose. We lose total perspective, man, in life. And then I got the wake up call and said, "No more, no more. I'm done with that, man. I'm done with that." I tell guys all the time now, friends all the time now. Look, man, quit working your life away. Tell me you work 12 hours. So what? When the man walks in there and gives you a slip and says it's over, what are you gonna do? And all you're gonna say is, man, I gave you 12 hours there. So what? Next man up. They don't care. So why should you put all that? And I think that's one of the things that we all have sacrificed too much, including yourself and me. Time. And now you don't own it. So why? It don't make sense. You can't, if you don't own it, you can't control it. And I think that's one of the things that we lose sight of, man. At the end of the day, we lose sight because we think we're working thinking we own it. You don't own shit. You don't own nothing. All you are is a widget person. So you are. At the end of the day, that person walks up and says, "Hey, Kurt's great career. Nice you've been in the 19, 20 years." But hey, time to go. And people go shell shocked when that happens because in their mind, you owe me something. Owe you what? You don't own nothing. I don't owe you anything. Happy you should have a job at the end of the day for 20 years. But I don't own nothing. I don't owe you nothing. And that's where, after it happens, then you start looking around in the mirror and say, damn, I sacrificed my family. I didn't do this and do that because you were the fool. You were the fool. Thinking that, everything you did, what you thought was the right thing on the job and end up being the wrong things. And then at the end of the day, family takes the hit. And that's wrong, man. And that's wrong. And if I had to reverse things today, I would put more emphasis on my family. But I had to reverse things, because we end up getting caught too many times on the wrong things behind that. And it's not good. It's not good.
Man, you're dropping some knowledge and some jewels, man. I love it. I love it. But what is your greatest fear? And then how do you manage that fear?
That's a very interesting question, Lamar. Somebody asked me that just in general a while back. What's my greatest fear? I think now more than ever, Lamar, my greatest fear is, when's the clock gonna stop ticking? Because I'm 66. I mean 65 rather. And I've had a good life, man. I've had a good life. And I'm looking around now and I got a lot of friends dropping, man. I mean, dropping. I get to the point now, man, I'm scared to pick the phone up every day because it's always somebody's passing away, somebody's got cancer, somebody's got COVID. It's something, So my greatest fear now, man, is the clock. How much time I got? That's why I preach every day. I tell people, people say, well, why are you so excited? Look, let me tell you something. Every day I can wake up and see that light. I'm blessed, man. I got another day. I got another day. Don't know how long it's gonna go, but I got another day. And that I appreciate that. Because you never know, man. So my greatest fear is that clock, man. Is that clock. Is that, and I can't be mad because at the end of the day, I've had a good run. I've done more in my life now coming out of a little town of Wilberforce, Ohio, that I would never had expected. I've traveled the world. I've been to more sporting events than I ever thought I could ever get to. I've been to more entertainment, parties, all kind of other stuff. Been around top people in my career. I've had a good run, man. Had a good run at the end of the day. But that's my fear, the clock.
Hey, that's a big thing too. How do you define success? So many people define success and how much money they made, how much fame they got. But how do you define success?
Man, I define success as being who you are, and that's all. That's all it is to me, Lamar. I think that again, we're caught up in the wrong things, man. Success it's amazing if you give a person $10 versus $100, say you got to make that $10. You got to manage that $10 for a week, and the $100 person got to handle this for a week. Guaranteed, the $100 person will spend most of their money before the $10 will spend $1. Okay, because in their mind, I got this money, so now I can throw that money around. Where the $10 person saying, "Well, wait a minute, I got to be careful on that. I'm trying to make it from Monday to Friday with this $10. Okay, I got to make sure I manage this right." And I think that's one of the things that when you look at success, man, we look at it, meaning our culture, the wrong way. Our success is Mercedes, house, nice job. That's our success. But really it's about, should be, what is your wealth value? What have you built up wealth-wise? Okay? Warren Buffett still drives a Honda. One of the most richest guys in the world. Hadn't changed his car in 30 years. Nobody even knows he pull up tomorrow somewhere. Nobody knows Warren Buffett. But us, we gonna pull up in 2021 Lexus, showing it off. Can't even pay for the rent. And that's our problem, man. That's our problem. I mean, you look at what really gets me more than anything, and it's like now I argue with them more than anything. You look at professional athletes, man, and how they don't know how to manage their money. And the worst thing about it is that they always got a middle guy, meaning a white boy, 9 times out of 10, who's managing their money. And me and you go to them and say, man, we got to get this Unmasked program. We're doing things in the community. Why don't you drop $100,000 on us and we could do X, Y, Z? Well, my guys got to check it out and get back to you, Lamar, blah, 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 blah. Then the guys, we're talking to the middleman's like, well, Lamar, look, what's in it for me? You know, if my man drop 100,000, I got to get a cut of that, man. What are you talking about? You know? But they allow that to happen, man. And then, you know, and then they talk about, you know, the little bit about I'm giving back. Giving back what? What do you give back? You know, what do you give back? Nothing. At the end of the day, nothing. You know, and we're so miseducated, man, on the wrong things, man. You know, on how we should be helping each other, and that's our problem, man. That's the problem. So it's hard in our community to me to measure success because it's so borderline on so much bullshit. That's how I measure it. It's borderline bullshit. You know, I mean, success should be long as you got something in your pocket, you can feed yourself, clothes on, got somewhere to live. To me, that's success. That's success in my opinion.
Love it. I love it. I love it. You're so correct. I'm gonna ask you this question: what's something that people might misunderstand about you? Like I said, I've seen the energy, the passion, how hard you work, and all of that for, man, it's been 20 plus years. So what is some, like, people who may not see you or they try to figure out, you know how people are, what's something they might misunderstand about you?
I think it's a good question because you know what happens is I have now more people reading my bio than anything. You know, I'm on LinkedIn, so now people pulling my bios down from LinkedIn, and when someone hits me, first words out of their mouth is, "You had an incredible career. How'd you do it?" I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. You know, I was grinding the whole time. You know, it wasn't nothing. You know, that's what you do." So I think the misconception is in some people is they don't understand what I did to get there. You know, they think they look at my resume and say, "Man, this guy's got a whopping resume. You know, he's got this award, that award. He's been doing this, he's doing that. He's been a president of this, president of that, blah, blah, blah." But they don't understand the hours and things that I put in the grind to get there. Okay, they don't understand how I built the brand to get there. You know, it's like I walked into this with a golden slipper. No, don't happen like that. And I think that's kind of a little bit of the misconception about me. Anybody who knows me like yourself, Mark, knows that I put the work in. I mean, the rap on me more than anything, I think, is, hey man, the one thing you get from Kurt Symonds, he's a straight up guy. That's what most people say to you. You know, anytime people call it, guys said out there in the conversation, man, your name came on. The first thing the guy said was, man, that cat, man, I like that cat because he's straight up, man. You know, and I think that's kind of the, you know, what people believe in. But I think the misconception is that people think I got there the easy way, and that it wasn't, that I put that grind in to get there. That's what I think the misconception was.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm gonna ask this my last question. I like to end with it. If you could turn back the time and talk to your 18-year-old self, like, what would you tell him?
Wow, that's a good one, Lamar. That's a very good one. I think if I had to turn back the time, the big thing I would tell, that we touched on earlier on when we started out, is that I would have tried to educate myself better in the finance community. I lacked that drive. I was so much of a sports nut. I lacked the drive to really learn business because I wasn't concerned about business. I was warped on sports. So I didn't see business as something I need to know about versus sports. And so I would say if I had to educate my 18-year-old Curtis Symonds, it was that I didn't educate myself well on the finance side of the world. You know, number two, I think the other thing you said earlier about, you know, book. I'm not a big reader. You know, and reading is knowledge. You know, I learned I would read sports stuff, but I wouldn't read thinking stuff. you know, and there's a lot of knowledge, man, that you miss out not reading, you know, and I think that's one of the big blocks in our community. I'm trying to teach my 7-year-old granddaughter right now. Sit down and read now. I want you to learn how to be a better reader, because reading is important, man. Reading is knowledge, man. And we overlook that so big in our community. You know, we don't teach. I was telling Kat the other day, I said, I could bet this. I said, you can take a 7-year-old African-American kid and put them against a 7-year-old white kid on a video game. And that 7-year-old African-American kid would kill him on that video game because they're visual. They can do it in their sleep. But now you reverse that and tell the 7-year-old kid to read a book and have the 7-year-old white kid read a book. The 7-year-old white kid be all over top of the black kid. Kid wouldn't even be able to, he'd be 10 pages up and that kid still be reading 1 page. Because that's not the way we have developed. And that's a sad thought, but it's a real thought. It's a real thought in today's world. And it's really the thing that handicaps us a lot, because the parents don't teach it enough. And even more in our community, because you have so many single parents and they're grinding every day. So they don't have time to spend time. So the kids are in front of that television doing this thing all day long. Mother dad come home 10 o'clock at night, now tired. You know, I got home with dad tomorrow. I can't do it. I'm tired a little bit. But I'm not. So I think that, you know, that's one of the things that I saw early on. If I look back at when I was 18, is that I needed to do a better job in those areas. And if I had improved in those areas, I mean, I had a great run, still do, but I think I could have been a little bit more knowledgeable at the end of the day.
That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. Well, look, Curtis, I want to thank you again, man.
Man, Lamar, this has been a pleasure, man. It's been a pleasure, bro. You know, anytime I get Lamar Bear talking to me, baby, ain't nothing like it, man. You know, we go way back, man. We go way back, man. And the hoop days, man. I still look. Me and Glenn were talking about the other day, man. I still love that conversation after the game, late night, man, and just getting into basketball talks. I miss that, man, because we had some great conversations in them days.
Yes, we did, man. Listen, anything you want to leave with the people?
I mean, I just want to leave them with this, man, is that, you know, I hope all of you support Lamar. He has been doing a great job with his Unmasked program. I'm glad that he's diversifying a little bit, not just staying with sports. He's getting people who are doing business. He's kind of bringing the show to another edge. And I think he's got doing something good. All of you need to continue to tune into him, because I think he's bringing something to the table. And hopefully, somewhere down the road, I'm going to try to get him on HBCU Go TV with this show, and we'll see what rock and roll. Thanks, man.
Appreciate that. Those kind words is all. Look, thank you, viewers, for watching another episode, a special episode of Unmasked. Stay tuned for the next guest as we get them unmasked. See you next time, and stay safe.